much, Kim, and thank you all for having me today. As Kim mentioned, I've worked with several different organizations throughout Knoxville over the years, and I've seen the impact that y'all have with the work you do. So thank you so much for what you do for our community. We're super grateful that you're all engaged in that way and that you're here today. Today, I am here to talk about the Big Ears Festival. Happy to see that some of you have attended it before, and some of you who maybe haven't come are familiar with it. Just kind of a little bit of boilerplate. Big Ears is a once-a-year music festival. It takes place at the end of March every year in a bunch of venues throughout downtown Knoxville. But we're actually more than a once-a-year festival, which is why I'm really grateful to be here today, because I think a lot of people don't realize that Big Ears is actually a nonprofit organization. So it sets us apart a little bit from the festivals that you're probably more familiar with, like Bonnaroo or High Water, or any of the ones that have kind of popped up across the country. So we have a little bit broader mission. We obviously want people to have fun, but I'm happy to be here today to kind of talk about a little bit about the festival, which is coming up in just a few weeks. As I try to not remember, and then what else we do throughout the year and the impact that we hope to have in the community. Make sure I got this. Okay, great. So I've got our mission up here on the slideshow, which is kind of a broad mission. We work alongside artists, audiences, and the community to create joyful, meaningful, and transcendent cultural experiences that defy boundaries, fuel curiosity, ignite the spirit, and nourish the soul. It's pretty ambitious, I think, but we like to always. It's kind of a being driven by a mission like that encourages us to always be exploring and discovering and finding new ways to create amazing things. So we have two kind of impact areas that we focus on with the work we do. The first one, obviously, is arts presenting. It's major focus. It's where we started bringing extraordinary art to Knoxville, to the public, to the world, making that art, putting it in multiple venues, bringing people you wouldn't see any other places a lot of the time, especially outside of big cities. And this presenting primarily looks like the festival, our festival we do, but we do branch out into other areas as well, and I'll talk a little bit more about the non-festival presenting that we do as well. The other area that we focus on is arts access. We bring amazing art to Knoxville. We want to make sure that everyone can experience that. So really, since we came back in 2022 after a 2-year hiatus for the pandemic, we have recommitted to our community engagement and outreach activities. We do a lot of engagement with youth and local partners and schools, and also just through free programming. Several of our venues at the festival are free and open to the public. So making sure that you can experience some of the great things that come to town for Big Ears without purchasing a festival pass. So those are kind of our two focuses as we plan for the future and plan our activities throughout the year. So of course, the flagship event is the Big Ears Festival. The first Big Ears was in 2009. There were a couple, 2009 and 2010. At that point, it was being run by AC Entertainment, founded by Knoxville native Ashley Capps, who I'm sure many of you know and are familiar with. He founded Bonnaroo and a lot of the other big music festivals across the country. So Big Ears started in 2009, went for a couple of years. AC turned its attention to some other things, and it took a hiatus for a few years. We were really grateful to be approached by Jim McDonough from the Addison Foundation in 2013 or so about the possibility of bringing Big Ears back and what that would look like. He saw what the kind of the potential it had for something really special and unique to Knoxville, and so with his partnership, we were able to bring the festival back in 2014. We became a nonprofit in 2015 to kind of really focus our work, become more mission driven, and really increase our impact in Knoxville. Then in 2019 was the last festival for a couple of years, as we're all acutely aware. a lot of stuff had to go on hold. And so we came back in 2022 and have been going strong for the last 3 years. The 2024 festival is coming up on March 21st through the 24th. And as I was walking down here from our office, I saw the flagpole banners are up on Gay Street, which is super exciting. It's real now, so it's actually happening. And we're just over the moon to be fortunate enough to be able to make this happen in Knoxville every year. Just a little bit about the festival. It does take place over 4 days in 16 venues. We may be in 17 this year, now that I think about it. It changes from year to year because we are a town that has such a wonderful proliferation of amazing venues. We're in, of course, the traditional venues. You think about the Tennessee Theater, the Bijou Theater. We added the Knoxville Civic Auditorium last year. But we're also in other spaces like the Mill and Mine and the Standard, kind of more club-like standing room spaces. We're also in churches. We're in St. John's Cathedral. They've been great partners throughout the years, and as well as the Point. So our venues run from a couple hundred people all the way up to 2,400. And that really gives us the ability to be flexible when placing artists. We can have really large popular artists like folks coming this year like John Batiste or Herbie Hancock, while we can also have really small kind of niche folks who can fill out a 200-seat venue, but maybe they don't have the name recognition to do a lot more. And we can really tailor the venue to the music as well. The St. John's is such a great place because we have a lot of, I'll talk a little bit about the kind of music that Figures has, but for example, like we have, this year we've got a group called Trio Medieval coming, who are a group of 3 women who are singing a song cycle based on the works of Hildegard von Bingen, the medieval mystic. All right, excellent, got some Hildegard fans back there. So, we've got kind of sacred music going on, and so having a space like the Church available is really make that experience even more special. So we're, Knoxville is such one of the things that makes Big Ears, and one of the magical things about it, and having all of these spaces that we can make use of and show to the world is one of the really special things. 234 shows last year over 4 days. It is not something for the weak-hearted or who haven't been training. Although the great thing about Big Ears is you can do it any way you want. We have people who get the schedule, sit down, plan minute to minute, like they're going to bounce from this to this to this to this to this to see 20 shows in a day or something like that. And then there are also people that maybe look at the schedule, maybe they don't. They just like to wander around and see what's there. And that's really what makes Big Ears special. One of the things that makes us so special is that's what we encourage. Big Ears is all about exploration and discovery and openness. We're not any specific genre. I think a lot of, especially in the early years, we kind of gave the impression of being an avant-garde festival, just a whole bunch of weird stuff that no one's ever heard of. And it's true. I mean, we have that stuff for sure. We've got some stuff going on this year that I'm interested to see, but I may very well turn right back around and walk out and find something else. But that's the great thing about Big Ears. It's more, there's not a specific Big Ears artist or a specific Big Ears genre. It's more that we love to bring in artists who embody that idea of creative exploration, creative discovery. We give artists the opportunity to try new things here that they haven't done before, or explore new collaborations. We just announced a week or 2 ago a collaboration between John Paul Jones, who's coming this year, the bass player from Led Zeppelin, and Thurston Moore, who's from the band Sonic Youth, if any people are familiar with or are my age. But Thurston had heard John Paul was coming to the festival, and they talked to each other and were like, hey guys, wouldn't it be cool to do a show together? And they've never played together before, they probably never will again, but they're gonna do it at Big Ears because that's the vibe of the festival. We've got a lot of first-time collaborations, we've got first-time projects, we have artists, we love supporting artists throughout the scope of their career as they explore and do different things. One of the great examples is Rhiannon Giddens, who's coming back this year for I think the 4th time. Some of you may be familiar with the Carolina Chocolate Drops, that's where she kind of launched her career, but she's a musician who has really just embraced anything and everything. She's an ethnomusicologist. She's done deep study in Celtic music, gone to Ireland for months at a time. She still has really strong Appalachian roots. She's now the artistic director of Yo-Yo Ma's Silk Road Ensemble. So she's doing all kinds of things. And she wrote a ballet that she brought to Big Ears in 2019. She comes back year after year because she's continuing to grow and explore. And that's, we're great partners for that. So she's coming back again this year. She's doing a new piece with Silk Road about the history of the American Railroad. She's doing a trio with the bass player Christian McBride and Francesco Teresi. She's doing like several programs, and that's one of the really great things. You have the opportunity to see some amazing artists doing different things. One within the scope of one festival, but also across their careers from year to year. So we really pride ourselves on that, having that vibe of exploration, whether you're performing or whether you're attending. And again, people hop in and out of concerts all the time. We're not a stuffy festival where you have to sit for the whole thing because there is so much going on. And again, we have such a broad range of artists. I think we may be getting close to 200 artists this year for our lineup. And a lot of people as well come from all over the world to Knoxville for that weekend. It's kind of astounding. About 70% of the people who come to Big Ears come from outside the Knox metro area, and most of those are from cultural centers like New York, San Francisco, Nashville, Atlanta, Chicago, and also 24 countries last year. And I have people who live in England and who live in Brazil who come every single year to Knoxville. It's pretty amazing. We have a big group of local attendees and supporters as well, and a lot more local people who come and attend our free events who don't necessarily purchase a pass but still take part in Big Ears during that weekend. And of course, it couldn't happen without our volunteers. We do have a very hefty staff of 5 people full time, and so this time of year we bring in volunteers and we bring in contract professionals to help us actually launch the thing that we've been planning all year. And yeah, going back to the visitors, I will say that we are in a very fortunate position to be a performing arts presenter who is at the moment not struggling to regain lost attendees. So many of our colleagues across the state, across the world, are still trying to regain attendance that they lost during the pandemic, and it's really hard on a lot of arts organizations. I don't know what happened or why we're seeing the success that we are. Actually, I kind of do know, and part of it is because of Knoxville itself. But we when we came back from pandemic in 2022, we sold out for the first time ever. And last year we added the Knoxville Civic Auditorium, which enabled us to sell more tickets because that's a really big venue and can hold a lot of people. Our attendance was up by 48%, and we still sold out again. And any day now we're going to sell out this year as well. So we're so grateful. We know we're in a really unique position among arts presenters. And so one thing that's important about that is we know we want to be able to take advantage of that, not just for ourselves, but to leverage that for the community. Our impact is pretty significant, and through partnerships with local organizations and friends, I think we can do a whole lot more. Part of that is our community impact, our outreach that we do. Again, like I said, we recommitted to this in 2022 and have been steadily building what we're doing with our local partners and in the community. We've got a lot of these are youth focused. We have artists that come in during the festival, go out into schools and do school visits, things like that. We have a great project called City Songs that we've done. This will be our 3rd year doing that, which works with local young people in schools, and we're working this year with the Phyllis Wheatley Center, the YWCA, with Fulton High School, with the Joy of Music School, like a lot of local organizations, both arts organizations and social organizations. So we've got kids creating music, and we've got festival artists kind of coming in and adding their bit to that. And then we create these music videos that then we'll put on a map of Knoxville. All the music is based on a place that's meaningful to these kids in Knoxville. So we create a map, and you can check it out on our website. If you poke around there, it's pretty cool. And so yeah, we're excited about that project, and we're hopefully going to be expanding that over a couple of years. We've got a lot more in the works, but we're just so grateful to our community partners who have helped us really figure out what's needed, where we can make a difference, and not duplicate what other people are doing, because we already have a Joy Music School who does amazing work. So rather than try to do what they're doing, we partner with them and try to amplify what everybody's doing. We, for the past couple of years, have had street parties and creative puppet arts workshops leading up to that. We had a parade for the last few years, so we've had after-school workshops and community schools and things like that, for mainly focused on K through 12 students. This picture here is Lonnie Hawley, who's an amazing musician and visual artist, who was our artist in residence last year. He came and he visited Beaumont, he visited UT, he created found object sculptures with all of these kids, in addition to his performances at the festival. It was, and again, that's the kind of thing we like to nurture artists in everything they do, and including the community engagement that they want to have. And a lot of these people are educators as well, so it's really great to be able to take advantage of that when they're in town. One of the other things that's really cool about working for some place that is in touch with so many people in the arts industry is that sometimes they come to you with really cool ideas, and we get to do stuff outside of the festival. And that's, again, more of the things we'd like to do as we grow as an organization. But a couple years ago, Yo-Yo Ma invited my boss and a few other people to a weekend retreat in the Smoky Mountains to kind of envision he wanted to do something that had to do with the Smokies, and he didn't know what that was going to look like. And so he had a retreat and pulled in a bunch of people from the parks, writers, scientists, just anybody kind of who was a stakeholder in this region in Appalachia. And he came out of that and said, Big Ears, we want to partner with you. We want you to produce something. And so this past May, we were able to have this amazing 3-day event called Our Common Nature, which focused on culture's relationship with the natural world and celebrating the culture of this place we live in, Appalachia. Would any of you get to see the Yo-Yo Ma concert? Yeah, excellent, wonderful. It was a pretty special
Yo-Yo Ma
night.
is like one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was surreal a little bit to get to do that, but it was a really special weekend. And then that night in particular at World's Fair Park was a special night, and those are the kind of things that our position on the national landscape can make possible for Knoxville, if we can leverage things like we should, and of course there's the economic impact that comes with 40,000 people coming, 30,000 people coming from outside of the Knox metro area for 4 or 5 days, living downtown, staying in hotels every night, eating every meal at our restaurants, going to bars, shopping at our shops. So many local business owners say it's hands down the best weekend of their year. I know several restaurants' sales are up 20% for that weekend over the rest of the year. So we've commissioned a 6-year economic impact study. We're doing it again this spring, so I'll have different numbers. But for the 2022 festival, which was the last one they measured over the weekend, they estimated $36.1 million economic impact on our region over that weekend. 377 full-time job equivalents, 2.6 million in local tax expenditures. Big Ears is good for, the arts are good for the economy, and I think there's room to blend the appreciation for the culture and the wonderful thing that exposure to the arts can do for people, but also the tangible benefits for this place that we live. And so, a lot of that comes from all of our partners, the Bijou and the Tennessee and things like that. We utilize so many local venues and vendors. We try to keep as much possible local as well, so we can just put our money back into the local economy, but we're also bringing in out-of-state dollars that wouldn't necessarily be spent or wouldn't be spent in Knoxville otherwise. And I do want to say, the people who come to Big Ears and come year after year to Knoxville, they love it. Y'all, we put on the best show for these people. They love downtown. They love seeing it grow. I have so many people who talk about retiring here, who live all these other places. They've been coming for Big Ears for years, and they've bought property or planning to buy property. And it's a pretty cool thing. But Knoxville really is what makes Big Ears special. You couldn't pick up this festival and drop it down in Manhattan. You open the door and you'd be just in another city. Knoxville is the perfect size where you open the door and there's this community that pops up over 4 days, and it's really a magical thing. And people really appreciate that, being in a city of this size and having it be so supportive and enthusiastic about having them here to enjoy it. That's about all I have as far as the formal presentation goes. I didn't go on and on about anything specific, but I heard this is a group that asks questions, so I'm happy to go ahead and hop in. Yes?
So the 45,000, did you say 30,000 are from out of town?
I mean, 70%, so I didn't quite do the math in my head, but yeah, it is a huge weekend for hotels, and restaurants and things. It's, and yeah, generally, I'd say 47 states. We have a hard time getting the Dakotas for the last couple of years. And I think Wyoming, so I gotta work on getting folks there, but, yeah, across the country, and again, 24 countries, generally as well, so it's pretty cool, yeah.
How close are you to selling out?
We were just having that conversation this morning. I think we're gonna put out a notice, that we're at about 90% capacity. So yeah, I think you still got a few days, maybe a week or so. And we do have, we have 4-day weekend passes, but we also have day passes if you're not sure if Big Ears is for you, or if there's a specific artist who's performing one day, you can buy a day pass and just come for that day as well.
Well, I do know that if you volunteer, that you can get a ticket or if you volunteer the whole weekend, you get more of a ticket.
Yes, that is true.
And so there's volunteer opportunities, is that correct?
Yes, I think we're already cut the line for this year.
Sorry.
But yes, we do love our volunteers, and set up, you volunteer for a certain amount of hours and you get a day pass and things like that.
How does the ticketing for the smaller shows work? How do you know that you're gonna be able to go to the 200 seat venue?
It's kind of, if there's someone who's essential that you really want to see, you gotta plan ahead a
Is
little.
it kind of first come, first served?
Yeah, it is. The festival pass is a wristband, and so it just gets you into all of the venues. Generally, even with the increase in capacity that we've had over the last several years, even if you can't get into a venue, if you wait for a few minutes, we start on a one in, one out. And like I said, people are going in and out to all kinds of different things. So you'll be able to generally be able to get into a show. But if you really want to see the whole thing, you can line up in advance. But kind of just got to plan ahead. That's what planning helps out. Yeah.
Speaking of lines, I went to the Yo-Yo Ma concert, amazing concert. Thank you for putting that together. But I wouldn't have gone again because the line was a problem. I waited an hour or so, and then there were people cutting, and I didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
It was a genuine issue. It was like you wait literally an hour, and then people were cutting in front of us, and
I think people were worried that they weren't going to be able to get in or get a seat, which, because that was a one-time event, so we hadn't had the experience before, but we didn't quite anticipate people being kind of so anxious about it. And so yeah, there were people that lined up really early, and wanted to get a seat. And so once it got moving, it started moving pretty well, but I know the line was 5,500 people trying to get in all at once into the World's Fair Park. So, I think if we did it again, we'd maybe open the gates earlier, just easy tweaks like that only come from, doing something and figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Hi, I'm Frank from the Joy of Music School.
Hey, Frank, yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you on that same concert for featuring one of our students. She's 15 years old, played the violin on a program with Yo-Yo Ma, which changed her life forever. And so thank you. And we hope to have more of the same.
Yeah, and I know Matt's been working with you on City Songs this year, and I'm so excited to see what you guys do. It's gonna be great. Yeah, thank you for all you do. Yes.
So are there any additional, secret collaborations that are going on? So I am one of those, I get excited about, some of the quirky things that are going, long tables, sleepy time, things like that. I really want to see some mashups. Is that announceable, and how would we go?
So yeah, well, it's a great question. We do, secret shows are one of the super fun things about the weekend, and we always have surprise pop-ups. We have secret shows, some of which are planned. There's some slots on the schedule, where I know we're gonna have secret shows, where maybe they're not planned yet. There are a couple, that I do know that are happening. You get notified via our app. So we have a festival app, and make sure your pop-up notifications are turned on. You'll get notified an hour in advance of any secret show, so you can, yeah. And I will say, if you have a VIP pass, you do, get, or VIP or premier passes, you get 2-hour advance notice, so, so you can kind of plan ahead a little more. Yes, sir.
Yeah, from a logistics standpoint, does the city of Knoxville give any consideration to the show for parking, transit?
We have great partners. Our, the city and the county, Visit Knoxville are just fantastic partners. We partner with the city on, we've got 2, trolleys this year that we're using that, can run a circuit, that will be running a circuit, to take people to various stops across town, so they don't have to, by Sunday, that hike from the Bijou to the Mill and Line, seemed insurmountable, let me tell you. And so, so it's great to have the city partnering with us on that. We partner with, the Downtown Knoxville Alliance. They have, their website has so much information about where to park, free parking. We push out all of that to our, attendees and subscribers and things like that. So yeah, we have found that all of the, across the board, all of the, our municipal leaders and partners are, just incredibly supportive, and we're really grateful for all they do to help us manage this beast. Yeah.
Is it age specific?
No, Big Ears is open to everybody. We have encouraged families. We have a lot of people who like to bring, you know, especially teenagers, a little bit more, but I see kids there. I've seen babies there. You know, there was a picture on the slideshow of a little toddler who had on their, big headphones, just entranced by the music. If you're 2 or over, you do need a wristband, but yeah, we don't limit anything. None of our venues are age limited, at this point. We used to have the Pilot Light as one of our venues, but, and they're 18 and up, I believe, but this year it's all open to anybody. Yes, sir.
I know Ken Knight here at the Crown Plaza must love this weekend, but how are we on hotel room inventory for the downtown area? I'm just curious about that.
You know, that's a great question. That's a good question for Visit Knoxville. I haven't talked to them this year. I don't know where we're at. I mean, our blocks, of course, we get a big block for artists, as well as blocks that you can buy through get through the website in partnership with Visit Knoxville. We are starting to have to put artists out in, Paper Mill or Cedar Bluff or things like that, because I think we've had a couple hotels open this year, which is wonderful. I think for events like this, whenever I see there's a new hotel coming downtown, I'm kind of like, okay, good, we'll have a little more breathing room, because again, unlike with a football game, you get a few people coming in who are going to stay overnight, but this is 5 nights at least. Thousands and thousands of people. It puts a real, it's a great weekend for hotels, but it also puts a strain on the capacity. Although I will say this year also, for the first year in a few years, we're not on the same weekend as the marathon. So that gives us a little more breathing room. That was tough last year when the marathon and Big Ears was going on. There were just no hotel rooms to be had anywhere. It was pretty crowded. Any other questions?
Thank you, Casey.
For everybody at it, and I was looking at the schedules, you can go to World Rotary Day in the morning on the Saturday the 23rd, and go to Big Ears Festival that afternoon.